Well, hello everybody. It's Ray here from City Fan TV, and I'm joined by my two buddies. I've got Mike, who is bolt from the blue all the way in South Korea. Annyeong, Mike. Annyeong.
안녕하세요, Rick.
Now, Colin's there thinking, who's this Annyeong woman? You know, as Mike got hooked up, Annyeong is just hello in Korean. And you can see Colin there, Colin Savage, aka Press Switch Blue, finance expert. How you doing, Colin?
All right, I did learn a bit of Turkish while I was in Istanbul. I've forgotten that now.
How much is that kebab, sir? Two more beers, please. That's it.
Yeah, that's the universal language. 2 beers.
That's
isn't
right. Well, it's a funny old world, isn't it? It's a funny old world. After so many clubs having a pop at Manchester City for nothing proven about these FFP shenanigans. Lo and behold, it's those sinners themselves. Manchester United have been fined for an FFP breach, and that's what we're going to talk about football finances. Not just Man United, Barcelona have been fined for an FFP breach. Apparently, UEFA are also looking into Real Madrid and Barcelona for some, alleged dodgy dealings, which don't look very good at the moment. And I'm going to ask Colin about them. Colin's had a look into these matters. And without going over the top, without, calling them dirty cheats or whatever, Man United, we can try and keep it reasonably civil. I don't mind the odd.
we can't call them dirty debt cheats.
No. Can't get me video banned. But no, I don't mind. I think it's only right and reasonable that we have a few digs. I think that's only proper. And if we didn't do that, we would not be true City fans. So some digs are allowed and expected. But Colin, I'm going to get this on large with you. Let's get you up there as a big in, because it's going to be mostly you talking and Mike and me listening eagerly. So Colin, come on, minor breach. What Man United been doing to get? What's the difference between is a minor breach still a breach, Colin? That's where I'm going to start.
Well, I did a minor murder. How does that sound? There weren't many people involved. Minor breach. Well, we don't know exactly what it is, but it seems to have been spun as a minor breach. But a breach is a breach. What it seems to be about, and no specifics, is that obviously as part of the COVID adjustment, really, in the financial fair play regulations, clubs were allowed to disallow any losses which they could directly attribute to COVID. So the obvious one was lack of match day revenue, of course, because that not allowing people into the stadium was directly attributable to COVID. And there were one or two others. Now, what seems to have happened with United, say we don't know the exact details, is they seem to have been rather, let's say, aggressive, rather hopeful in what they try to exclude for FFP purposes. And UEFA have turned around and said, sorry, no, you can't exclude that, which means they're in breach. Which obviously meant breach. Now, to be in breach, you've got to have made losses. It's not, you're not in breach of financial fair play if you made a profit. So this is United, the mightiest financial entity in the football world, are obviously reporting quite significant losses. I think we may have said this before, that they released their third quarter results for the financial year to June 2023, which of course just ended. So we should be hearing their full year results. But there was a big thing about United report a profit of 1.6 or 6.1 million. I can't remember what it was. But actually, when you looked at the 9, that was just for the 3 months, because they report every 3 months. When you looked at the accounts for the 9 months, they were still reporting losses. They were still reporting negative cash flow. So their financial situation is obviously not quite as sound as the they would have us believe. So
Yeah. So they're just trying to put a positive spin on, bad year-to-date results.
Yeah. Well, it was, yeah, because and they're very good at putting positive spin on things, as we've seen, of course, with this minor breach. But yeah, so you don't breach FFP unless you've made, well, I think it's still 30 million euros over 4 years, but you can add back quite a bit to that. So to breach that, their losses must have been, overall losses have been fairly significant. I've been saying this for a while. Quite Chelsea have got away with it. I do know how Chelsea have got away with it because of, but obviously United are not the kind of paragon of financial management that they claim to be. So if you haven't been, but it's nice, isn't it? The boots on the other foot. Of course, this is UEFA, not the Premier League.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we can expect any day now the Premier League will be opening its own investigation into United's.
Absolutely. I mean, come on, if you've been done by UEFA, surely to goodness, the Premier League will say, well, we need to have a look. Maybe they get their fishing rods out and start fishing to see what's going on.
The interesting thing is, from what we've read, the little we know, United have tried to present a better picture than was actually the case. And what we've been done for, presenting a better picture, allegedly, than was actually the case.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the Greater Manchester Police fraud team will be knocking on the doors of Old Trafford before too long, because they misleading account. We're joking here. This is about financial fair play and what you can and can't include and exclude. But so there's no suspicion of fraud whatsoever, despite my I don't want to get people's hopes up.
So, would it be right to say you think they've been playing fast and loose with financial regulations, or at least with the FFP, with what they've tried to basically push through the door?
It seems that way from what UEFA have said. Yeah. Because you submit a set of accounts, and UEFA say there's certain things you can allow, disallow from those accounts, and they say they've been a bit optimistic, hopeful, aggressive in things they can add back because of COVID. So, and people said, well, it's all right. City United admitted it. Well, actually didn't, because UEFA, UEFA came back and said you've basically understated your losses.
Yeah, but basically, if you're caught bang to rights, you might as well accept. Most people would accept it.
Was that a fine of 250,000? Was that right?
It's 300,000 euros. So let's say 200,000.
Right.
£7,000, was it, or euros? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think it equated to about 300,000 euros. I think it was.
Yeah, because we're hearing reports at the moment that United need to sell before they can buy. So we were recording this on Sunday evening, and only a couple of hours ago, poor old Harry Maguire has been told he's going to be stripped of the captaincy. He's gutted. He's put out. Why do you put out a statement? He's just been. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's put out a statement, and he's supposedly on over 200 grand a week. So the feeling is that United are trying to push him out of the door because he's rubbish. Which is a lot of City fans and Liverpool fans and whatever, they're upset about this. I'm going to start a petition to keep Harry Maguire at United. But
Harry Maguire and Phil Jones in the same window. What?
First of all, for financial mismanagement, and now mismanagement on a grander scale by letting Phil Jones and the mercurial Harry Maguire leave in the same transfer window. But they're not. What you call them, the paragons of financial virtue. I think that was slightly tongue-in-cheek, because they are struggling a bit.
Yeah. COVID affected all clubs, affected City as well, of course. But their finances are not as strong as they would like everyone to believe. And this shows that, as I said, you go into the accounts, you look at the block figures in black and white, they've got a negative cash flow when they should be generating 100 million, something like that,
Yeah.
120 million, 150 million. That's the sort of spare cash they should be generating, but they're not. They're not even, so they haven't got that much to basically to spend. And they've been very lucky. Had they fallen outside the top four at the end of last season and not been in the Champions League for this forthcoming season, that they'd have been in a very sticky mess indeed.
Yeah, out of their own making, absolutely. Now, United were fined €300,000 for their minor breach. Barcelona, I'm reading, were fined £500,000. It's not that much, really, when you compare it to what other clubs have been fined. But what Barcelona did, they wrongly reported in the financial year 2022 profits on disposal of intangible assets. That's basically not assets you can touch and feel, other than player transfers, which are not a relevant income under the regulations. So it would seem, using my term from earlier, they played a little bit fast and loose because they've wrongly reported the profit on disposal of an asset, and they've been fined £500,000. Now, we've we've heard plenty about Barcelona's financial problems over the last couple of seasons, and we're still bemused as to how they can still buy players and register players. But is this what Barcelona? I'm guessing because they've been fined a bit more than United. What Barcelona have done is a little bit more serious than what United have done.
Well, and Real Madrid as well, the same thing. Just to explain what they've done, they both sold the Spanish La Liga. It was really weird. Spanish La Liga did a deal to sell TV rights to a third party. So sell a part of its TV rights to a third party. Future TV rights, a future stream of income. And Barcelona and Real Madrid didn't agree with this, so they did their own deal. So what they did was, when we talk about intangible assets, as you say, as we know from our accounting experience, that's assets that, not physical assets like a car, piece of plant and machinery, a building, something like that. And players come under that heading as well. Players are intangible assets because what you're valuing is the contract, not the actual player. So what they've done is they've sold off that 25% of their TV rights to a third party, two different third parties, for an upfront sum of money. And what they seem to, and then they're repaying that over, I think, 25 years. So let's say, for the sake of argument, they've sold those TV rights for 500 million or 250 million. Over 25 years, they're paying 10 million euros a year back to so they've received, let's say, 250 million euros on a 25-year deal, and they've got to pay 10 million back every year. So it's not free money. So what UEFA have said, and what they've done is they've taken all that 250 million as a revenue item in a single year. And what UEFA have said is, no, this should be debt. So basically, you've got a loan of 250 million, which is it's not revenue. So if you can imagine an analogy, imagine you're trying to get a mortgage and your income's not quite big enough. So you go to the bank and you borrow £10,000 for whatever, and then you claim that as part of your income. If your income's £40,000, so actually my income's £50,000. It's a bit of a daft analogy, but that's basically what they've done. They've received this money, they put it all up front in the accounts, and UEFA said, no, you can't do that. What they probably should have done, and there's a little bit of analogy with say, season ticket money. So City will get season ticket money coming in, or clubs will get season ticket money coming in before the year end for the following year. But they can't use that as revenue. They can only do it in the year to which it applies. So that's a fairly common accounting principle. Any revenue you get, any costs you incur have to be allocated to the right accounting year. So they've put in this, let's say this mythical, I can't remember what the numbers are, 250 million euros in 1 year. And there's two ways of doing that. One is you can treat it as a loan, put it in the balance sheet, and the repayments then come out your income come out your normal revenue and expenditure stream, or you can actually, if you're selling it for 25 years, you can actually only accrue 10 million a year.
Yeah.
Well, one of two ways of doing it. But what you can't do is
Chuck it all in.
250 million in one go, and then say, so apparently the impact on Real Madrid has been to turn a decent profit, say 40 million, into actual loss of something like 200 million euros, over 200 million euros. So it's a bit of chicanery, really. And UEFA has said, no, you can't do that. And,
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Colin.
And the interesting thing is La Liga, under our old friend Senor Tebas, has not raised any objections to this. Well, because they wouldn't, would they? Because, you know, Barca and Real Madrid, or particularly Real Madrid, are the golden boys. So UEFA have. So the impact on Real Madrid is that they will have to report, basically for financial fair play purposes, report quite a big loss for the last financial year going forward. Now, in kind of one sense, it doesn't matter because FFP is changing, but I think this coming year is the last year of the current version of FFP. I think it's 2024-25 when the new one starts to take effect, which will be on a single year basis. So probably the timing, it might impact them next year, but the timing's probably quite fortuitous for them. But basically, you know, they're going to have to report losses. Now, actually, interestingly, City did a similar thing. So when we moved to the Etihad in 2003, we borrowed quite a big sum of money. Well, at the time, it was a big sum of money. So it's about 40 odd million, 44 million, just under 45 million. We securitized that loan. So basically, we treated it as a debt, and we repaid it. The first few years were interest only, and then capital started being repaid, and then we were taken over. And of course, Sheikh Mansour wiped out the debt, so we don't have that debt anymore. But it was like us putting 43 million, whatever it was, in the accounts as revenue, which would obviously boosted our profits quite significantly. So, it remains to be seen what happens with Real Madrid and financial fair play this year, next year.
Yeah, I'm here reading that they had this deal with Sixth Street of 360 million euros. Apparently, UEFA saying that is not legitimate income. Then they've got this deal. Then they've got a deal with Real Providence. That's apparently under scrutiny. Barcelona. Well, UEFA told Real Madrid and Barca that palancas are not FFP compliant. Massive pressure on Barca with their next FFP cycle. You know, it's not looking good. And Real Madrid were accused of, I think, hiding apparently 122 million euros in expenses. I think that's what you're referring to, something like that.
I think it's related to this TV deal.
And actually by avoiding those expenses, they've evaded the salary cap imposed by La Liga because their accounts look apparently much better than they should have done, and that's got them around the salary cap. But I'm still seeing some absolute rubbish written in the media that Barcelona will. That Bernardo Silva will not talk to PSG or Saudi Arabia. He's waiting for his dream to see if anything happens with Barcelona, and that they want to offer a loan with an obligation at the end of the season to buy to help adapt to the FFP restrictions. But I just can't. As I said earlier, I can't believe how they do get these pictures. But there's other clubs have been, tapped on the shoulder. I think was it Juventus were done. Do you think? We're looking at some of the, they'll call themselves European royalty or whatever. United, Barca, Real Madrid, and one or two Italian clubs. Do you think this is going to create an extra appetite for this Super League? I don't think that will ever go away. This idea of a Super League, because these clubs will look at it as an immediate way out of the financial predicament that they're in.
I think one thing, guys, is I think I'm right in saying that the Saudi league are not bound by FFP. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, they're not part of UEFA.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So I'm just going back to that, Colin. Do you think there's going to be more pressure from these clubs to go back and revisit this silly nonsense of a Super League idea, which I suspect will come out and happen at some point?
Yeah, I think you're right, because they know that it will be, if they do it now, that they're kind of outside the pale. You know, the UEFA and the Premier League will, if United and Liverpool go off to join the Super League, that the Premier League would basically cast them out. They can't be in the Premier League and be in a Super League, of course. Yeah. So they know. I think UEFA have said basically the same thing. So they know a Super League has got to be outside the jurisdiction of both the UEFA and the Premier League. But that might suit them because, as you say, the UEFA putting increasing pressure on those key clubs may force them to think, well, stuff it. Let's let's have our own little league, and they can.
The thing is, these clubs. Sorry, Colin. These clubs bang on and on and on about history and class and stuff like that. You know, so what they potentially doing is walking away from their national associations, the leagues that they've been in for, for over 100 years, all the trophies they've won and everything else. If they do that, I hope City aren't involved. I hope they all get stripped of their titles. I heard UEFA wanted to strip United of their Premier League titles for the last 10 years, then realised they'd won bugger all. And it was a waste of time, so they fined them instead. They were going to do not allow them
the Carabao Cup.
Yeah. Basically,
when they talk about asterisks against our titles, this was actually to 2022. So doesn't you could say there's an asterisk around the Carabao Cup.
So basically,
2022. There must be an asterisk against their sixth place league finish.
Yeah. So basically, the United with their dodgy dealings, I'm gonna have to put them in little. I don't know if that absolves me of anything, but they did all that to win the Carabao Cup. They could have. If you're going to cheat, United, at least win something meaningful like the Premier League title.
Yeah, we've got cheating off to a fine art, haven't we? I mean,
absolutely. We cheat, we win the treble. We cheat, we win the treble. We win the 5 titles in 6 years. Next year we'll cheat again, I'm sure, and we'll get that fourth time. Why not? But it is serious. But why, Colin? Here's a funny thing. Why haven't the media been all over this story? Why aren't the media, or why are the media saying it's just a minor breach, brush it under the carpet? They've moved on. The story came out. They've already moved on to the next thing, which is Harry Maguire getting the boot as captain. But if it was, I don't think I'm feeling picked upon, okay, or paranoid to say if this was City, they'd be sat on outside the Etihad for a week or something on our case, talking to fans and asking them how dare we support such a cheating club.
Well, I think people can see it for what it is now. It's just like propaganda, isn't it? Funny enough, I was reading a political memoirs, and the writer was talking about a speech he'd made, because this is going back 60 years to the mid-60s. A speech he'd made being completely misreported in the press, and he very naively said, "How can the press make a headline which bears no relation to the truth?" Well, of course, we know.
They got it into a fine art.
And that was 60 years. So
yeah. So, well, there you have it. Guys, the squeaky clean Manchester United have been done for financial fair play breach. You're gonna have to remind me, Colin, have City been done for a FFP breach? Or we had that one where UEFA diddled us, didn't we?
Yeah, in 2014 we reached a settlement with UEFA over financial fair play breaches, and it's interesting that because I think I've talked about this
Yeah.
in mind-numbing depth. It was about, we made losses, big losses.
We didn't hide them.
We were well outside the maximum allowable limit for FFP, but there was a clause, transitional clause in the early years, that if you met certain criteria, particularly around wages, player contracts, if they met certain criteria, you would escape sanction even if you failed FFP. And up to very close to the time when we were assessed, we were meeting those criteria, and then UEFA changed it. And this is all part of the stuff we talked about. Fordham Sports Image Rights, where we needed a bit of extra cash, and we sold the image rights to Fordham. But if under the old system, we'd have been safe by about 2 million. When UEFA moved the goalpost, we were just on the other side of the 80 million point we needed to be. And it could only have been, I don't know obviously we don't know the exact figures, but best guess it was a couple of million. We were a couple of million outside the parameter that we would have seen us escape punishment. Yeah. We'd have failed FFP, but not been punished.
Yeah.
And because of that 2 million, we got fined 20 million euros.
Yeah. So that 2 million, I was going to say, that's a minor breach, isn't it?
2 million, yeah. Well, I mean, it was a big, we failed by a long way, but under the rules, we could have escaped punishment for that.
Yeah.
We missed.
We feel like when they move the goal,
1 penny. Well, we want a pound, let's say, we'd have still got been fined 20 million euros.
So we minor breach, fine 20 million quid. I remember Khaldoon, he was spitting feathers. He wanted to go to war, but he said, "We'll take the pinch." We are pretty confident, pretty sure that we would be vindicated. But he said, "I tell you what, we'll take it as a tax, in effect, and we'll draw a line under it, grit our teeth, and carry on." But City are never at the top table with these clowns who are running the game, and the clubs that are putting pressure on the clowns that run the game. But yeah, minor breach for City, 20 million fine. United minor breach.
Yeah.
As you say, one p or one
question. No one's asking. You say in the media, no one's asking the question: is why did United fail FFP? Why did this? They're looking at 600. They're forecasting a 640 million total revenue for this last financial year. I think it's last year or next. That will beat their previous record of 627 million. Why aren't the media asking the question about how does a club which turns over that much money? Newcastle about 150 million.
Yeah.
It's a quarter of what United turn over. Why is no one asking the question about why a club which turns over 600 million pounds is failing FFP?
Yeah. It's astounding, but let's not get into the realms of why clubs like United are buying the league, and Arsenal have spent 200 million pounds to buy the league. I mean, there's nothing else about it. Arteta spent 400 million quid in two summers, and I think 600 million in the 4 years he's been there. And they accused us. We've been over this whole ground, but FFP, do you think? Even if they don't push for that Super League, do you think there's ever going to be the death knell for FFP? Because a lot of rich players want to be part of owning teams in the Premier League. And do you think that at one point they'll push for the abolition of FFP?
It would be the ultimate hypocrisy, wouldn't it? Because they've pushed, we saw that letter, the Hateful Eight, signed asking for FFP to be for the Premier League to be stricter about financial stuff. And you look at Chelsea with their huge losses, look at United failing FFP, and you think that that's ultimate hypocrisy. If they want the end of FFP, it's because it's hurting them, not because it's hurting us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you have it, guys. So I've got to say a big thanks to Colin coming on again to explain what's going on in the football financial world with those dirty, rotten cheats at Manchester United and those bullies from Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona. And guys, if you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up and a like. Give us a subscribe if you can. I've said it over the last couple of weeks. We've done really well on this channel. It's been a fantastic ride with the finance interviews we've done with Colin and the stuff we've done with Bernard on his history. Bernard is history, and Mike all the way over in South Korea, giving us his perspective on all things Manchester City as well. So I'm very thankful and grateful to these guys, to my mates, the boys in blue, Colin, Bernard, who's not here, but I'll always give him a mention, and Mike all the way in South Korea. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll see you around Blues.